What up, my people? Welcome to the League Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Shane Newman. On this episode, we have the pleasure of having some royalty joining us on this podcast. I've been knowing this man for a real long time. Former big league player, big league coach. Kind of just like me, man. You played everywhere, man. Played all over the place. But, he took some time out to share a story with us today. Let us welcome in Mr. Sir Hensley, Bam Meulens. Bam, what's going on?
What's up, Shay? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. And, I'd like to say, it's a pleasure for me to be on with you and talking to all the people that'll be listening. So, you hit it right on. We've been all over the place. Done a lot in the last 35 years. Enjoying life at home and alongside the family, and continue to do some things for the baseball community back home.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I know you're doing a lot of stuff on the island of Curaçao. Williamstead is how do you say it? Williamstead? How do you pronounce it? Williamstead. I know the different pronunciations up there, man. Just give us a little breakdown on Curaçao, man. I know it's part of Holland, right?
Yeah, so Curaçao is a Dutch colony in the Caribbean Sea. It's part of the ABC Islands, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curaçao. And Curaçao is about 40 miles off the coast of South America, mainly Venezuela. So it's all the way south in the Caribbean. And the other three islands are the SSS Islands, St. Martin, which is half French as well, Save and Station. So born and raised here, got an opportunity to play professional baseball, started off with the Yankees at 18 years old. That would be some 36 years ago now already. And became the first major league player out of Curaçao. And since then, we've produced 16 other major leaguers, including 6 at the moment, which will give us per capita the most major leaguers by any country in the world, because we only got 150,000 people here. So very proud, to be of this little rock in the Caribbean, and that's produced some big time players like Andrew Jones, Wendell Simon, Jair Jurgens, the likes of now Kenley Jansen won the World Series last year, Didi Gregorius in Philly, Lozano Albies in Atlanta, Jonathan Stope in Detroit, Andrew Simmons, who's won 4 Gold Gloves with the Twins this year, and Jurickson Profar was out west in San Diego doing his thing. So those are the current major leaguers. Obviously, like I said, very proud of being from here and opening the door for all these guys.
Yeah, man. I mean, you set the tone. Back in the mid '80s, getting the opportunity to come to the States and play. But before we jump into all of that, explain you're a sir. You are a sir. So for those who don't know what that means in your country, on your island, give us a little breakdown on what that means, because that's a huge thing for folks out there in Curaçao and in the Dutch, as part of that Dutch colony.
Right. So the anybody that's part of the Dutch Commonwealth, if they've done anything great in their careers, they come up they're eligible to become a knight. So because of the royal family, they knight about 50 people a year. And I had the privilege to become one of those knights because of my lifetime achievements through baseball. Winning 3 championships with the San Francisco Giants, 2010, 12, and 14. And also playing the Olympic Games in 2000 for the Dutch, coaching in the Olympic Games in 2004 for the Dutch. Also coaching in all 4 World Baseball Classics so far. I coached in 2006, 2009, and had an opportunity to become the manager in 2013 and did it again in 2017. Managed the team also at 2 different Premier 12s in 2015 and 2017. 2019. And, you know, all those things put together, my career as an amateur on the island and for the national team also, you know, collaborated for me to, you know, get an honor to be, become a knight. So I remember in 2011, when our national team became world champions, that was the last time there was a world champion from the amateur side through EBAF, which is the World Baseball and Softball Amateur Confederation. Everybody on that team got knighted when they got back to us.
Wow.
So, and that included, you know, big league players like Jonathan Stove, Xander Bogaerts, who's from Aruba, and the like. So we're very proud, and it's a special honor. You know, you get to be a knight, and you get to be on that special group of people that can say the queen. Well, now the king, since the queen stepped down, the king took over, knighted you. So a very proud moment. It was for me. It happened right at home plate in San Francisco at 18th.
Oh wow!
In front of 40,000 people right before the game started. It wasn't the queen herself, but the Dutch consulate in San Francisco at that time had the honor to knight me into knighthood. So here we are. That's how we became a knight.
Like you said, over those 36 plus years, a lot has happened, man. Not only on your island of Curaçao, but the whole Dutch Commonwealth. When you're talking about baseball and the growth of the game, from the time you started until now, you broke down a whole laundry list of things that you were able to accomplish, not only as a player, but most as a coach and manager. When you're talking about, you know, the WBC, the Olympics, Premier 12s, even the Little League World Series, though you didn't coach, but there was a few Netherlands teams that were fortunate enough to make it to the Little League World Series. So speak on how much the game has changed from the time you came up until now. Or how much has it grown?
Well, you know, we're part of globalizing the game as we, you know, participate in all these international tournaments. You know, I've played in Intercontinental Cups, I've played in World Cups, in WBCs, and the Olympics, and Major League Baseball and International Baseball is trying to globalize the game. And more you see more people interested in the game all over the world. And if you can see the last couple of classics, you know, more countries get to participate. You know, we had Spain in the classic one time, and Colombia in the classic. We have Israel in the classic. Countries nobody knows they're playing baseball, but they are.
Yeah.
You know, even going to the Olympics right now, you know, we have to go to Taiwan in the beginning of June here in a couple of weeks to try to get that last spot to go to the Olympics this year. Because Israel beat us in the European Championships last year, and they got the spot. Now, you know, there was one last chance for us to get in there, and then there's, you know, trying to go against the likes of Taiwan, Australia, and then 2 teams that are coming from the Americas qualifier that are taking place in a couple of weeks down in Florida. So 8 great countries. You have Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Dominican Republic, USA, Canada, Nicaragua, you know, on and on and on. And some of the best baseball countries in the world that haven't qualified yet for the Olympic Games. You know, the only countries that qualified so far is the host, Japan, Mexico and Korea qualified during the Premier 12 2 years ago in Mexico in Japan. And then and Israel qualified against us in Europe a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great baseball left to be played still to get into the Olympics. And to get back to your question, the game has changed. The game has changed a lot from early '80s, mid '80s to now. Back in the day, a lot of people rely a lot on scouts to go out there and look at players and put their eyeballs on them, the trained eye, like they used to call them, and say, hey, this guy can be a big league player, and most of the time they were right, but some other times they were wrong as well.
Yeah.
But now all of that is out of the window. People are scouting with video, people are scouting with analytics, people are scouting with all this technology to try to make big league players out of players. So it's a big difference. There's a balance, I believe, in everything analytically and technology-wise. Still, for me, into what you see in terms of a guy's heart, guy's ability to perform under pressure. Besides, the numbers telling what numbers are telling you. So there's still value for me when it comes to that, but you got to mix them to get to the right formula, and then to sign the right players for what your organization is trying to do. So, and that also goes to high school kids and college kids. Back in the day, we used to have all kinds of showcases here on the island. A bunch of college coaches came down, and they wanted to see the best athletes, and they signed a bunch of them to school in the States. But now, because of COVID, people are not traveling, they're not coming down here. They're relying on these numbers, and we have to provide them for them.
Yeah, I definitely get it. And, back in the day, like you said, it makes it a little bit easier for folks to come over to Curaçao. Beautiful weather, beaches and things of that nature. But the fact that you, Andrew Jones, Randall Simon, guys like that set the tone, and you came up to the States and you had successful careers, not only on the field, but you carried yourselves as professionals off the field. So that's a credit to the way you guys were brought up and the things you learned as a youngster. Now, we're going to jump into you, man, and how that career started on the island. I read that you didn't get the name Bam Bam from baseball. You got it from playing softball or something. I'll speak on that for a second.
Well, yeah, so I played 4 sports as a kid. Obviously I played soccer first because my dad was a big soccer player in the national team. He was the captain of the national team, and obviously I have a brother that's a year and a half younger than me. We jumped into soccer right away as we were born, basically. And then I didn't start playing baseball until I was 9 or 10. And then I played softball with a group of friends, and then I played volleyball. But softball, I hit left-handed because I didn't want to mess with my right-handed swing playing softball, because it was a totally different swing. You have to kind of hang down on the ball because of the rising pitches and all of that. So it was hard to have a launch angle playing softball because you miss everything you swing at. So that came about, and then as I was turning 15 or so, I was on national teams. Scouts started looking at me, and 3 years later, I was signed by the Yankees to go play rookie ball in Sarasota, Florida. And, I played 3.5 years in the minor leagues, and went very fast. Was all-star at every level, pretty much. At rookie ball, all-star third baseman, was third baseman, and then at A-ball was player of the year. Jumped right into AA. Halfway through that season, was moved up to AAA. So things were moving really fast. I was very young. I was 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
And then, the following year, there became a hurdle. I was sent back to AA, 89. Played most of the season there. Was called up to AAA in August. And then 3 weeks later, I was in the big leagues. On August 23rd, 1989, it was like a huge parade day here in Curaçao, because nobody thought that anybody could ever play in the big leagues from this rock. It looked so far away from us. And even as I signed, it was like, wow, how am I going to do this? You walk into spring training, there's 200 other guys trying to get to the same place you're trying to get. And it wasn't easy, but, we got through it. And, we've had a nice career. And I'm grateful. I thank God for putting me on this path and opening the door and also continuing to help others to better themselves.
Got you. So, I mean, you talked about how fast it went. You played 4 sports growing up, the soccer, the volleyball, the softball, baseball. How did that help you? Obviously, ultimately, you became a Major League Baseball player, but how did those other sports help you when it came to the game of baseball? Playing third base, having to be quick on your feet at the hot corner. How did those sports prepare you for that?
Right. So before I get to that, I like to put this in there. So Bam came from hitting left-handed in softball, and they thought it was as strong as the Bam from the Flintstones because it was in the bombs all over that yard. I was hitting balls farther than natural lefties, so they thought I was as strong as that little kid. Yeah. But anyways, it helped me because footwork. Soccer is footwork. Volleyball is stamina. You're diving and trying to save plays all over the place. So it helps you with your athleticism. Diving and footwork all over the place, and also quickness. You have to be quick to play all these sports.
Yes.
Softball obviously is a little similar than baseball, but still, playing fast pitch from close range, got these hands really quick. So that's what helped me. Just hit fastballs. Back in the day, if you couldn't hit a fastball, you were not moving up. So, and now all of a sudden nowadays, people are throwing 40% fastballs. So even if they're throwing 100 miles an hour and throwing a lot of breaking stuff. So, but hitting the fastball, also the agility, the quickness with all these different sports, it definitely helps you when it comes to baseball. I know our guys right now, they have a soccer team here on the island, Simmons, the Profars, and the Scopes. So when they come here in Albies, they have a soccer team where they practice soccer in the off season just to keep their footwork going.
Yeah, it's good for the hips too. We're talking about hip mobility and things of that nature. So we're talking about you leaving an island of 150,000. Back then, maybe not as many people, but it's a close-knit community. Now you're over in Sarasota, Florida with the New York Yankees. You said it was 200 other guys you were competing with. Was there anything else once you first stepped foot on the States that was kind of a culture shock or a big adjustment for you as an 18-year-old? You're not close to home, mom and dad not around to help you. You're pretty much on your own and have to become a man. What are some things that you really had to adjust to when you came over to the States in 1985?
Well, first of all, landing into Miami and got in 995, saw, 8 to 10 cars driving next to each other. I was like, what is this? This is So, but that was a freeway. We don't have freeways here, so that was quite a culture shock just to see the magnitude of people. If you have millions of people, then everything is bigger and faster. You have all these cars, all these roads, all these high rises, and you have to house people. You have to workplaces and then distances because everybody can't live on top of each other. So people drive and get back and forth. Anyway, so the size of the Miami, unbelievable. That was the first time I came to the US at 18 years old. And then, but very fast you get a wake-up thought. It's, hey, you're not here to be an op. You're here to do a job. So when you walk in there, I said, and then, you walk in and there was back in the day, the Yankees had a dorm type of place where they stayed at in Hollywood, Florida. And there was George Steinbrenner. Mr. Steinbrenner was owner of the shipping company. And one of the shipping companies had these dorms down south in Hollywood. And that's where they housed us. So you walked in a room and there was 5 bunk beds and there's 10 guys sleeping in that room.
Oh, wow.
So that was another culture shock coming from a place where I lived in a single family home with my brother and my sister, nobody else. So, you had to make adjustments when it came to that. And then it was all the fast food. If you didn't watch out, you were eating really bad all the time. Yeah. You were making no money, very little money. Spring training, you weren't making any money at all. But they fed you. You got a soup for lunch, you got a banana and an apple, and then you get your cereal for breakfast, and then for dinner you got maybe rice and chicken or pasta and chicken, something like that, and that was it. The people weren't spoiled back then,
Yeah.
So it was the minor league, so you had to make an adjustment really fast, just to make sure that you stay focused on playing the game. So that was the most important thing for me. And when I saw all these guys and all these different habits, obviously there were guys that were playing for 4 or 5 years already. When you walk in there, they're driving their own cars. There's girls all over the place outside waiting, and a lot of bad habits going on. So if you were to pay attention to that, then you would hit the wrong road right away. And I chose to, put some flaps on like a racehorse and look straight ahead and not look to the sides until I made it to the big leagues. And it took 3.5 years to do that.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, being young, away from home, you have the decision to do whatever you want. A young 18-year-old, you could have been following that crowd. You didn't follow that crowd. And things happen really fast for you. You had success as soon as you stepped foot on the field and made it to the big leagues in about 3.5 years. Was that, you credit your upbringing with your parents and your family dynamic, and then just you being disciplined at such a young age, knowing what you wanted to do. Plus you had a whole island on your back, pretty much the whole Dutch colony on your back when it comes to that opportunity to be a professional baseball player and then to make it to the big leagues. So were those things going through your mind at the time as well?
No question. I think, the thing that you thought more about was actually, my dad went with me when I signed. My dad retired from his job at the oil refinery here, which was the biggest company here. He was 55 at the time, and they offered him early retirement. Shell was leaving the island, the big gas company. And so he took his retirement after working there for 32 years. And he went to the States with me. So anytime I walked out of the compound where Steinbrenner had us staying, my dad was outside, to take me driving around or go get something to eat, or just the ability to talk to somebody in your own language.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, the language barrier, even though I spoke English already because of school when I came here, but, it was very fast, the way guys spoke. You had different guys speaking different slang. So baseball terminology was at times in slang. So I had to figure out what everything meant really fast. But you're right. So I focused on getting to the next level, leaving this rookie ball situation to where you were going to be on track to be with the last people around you, and then continue to move. And it worked out. I can't complain about anything that I experienced throughout my first couple of years in my leagues. It was all great. It was tough. It was I never went to college, but I think it was almost like being in college. You're having roommates. You're traveling in buses. You're at times getting dressed in hotels and things like that. So. But I had a blast. I had a blast in the minor leagues. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it all over again because that's what made me grew up in the game and become a man and become responsible for my actions. I was always a leader type of the teams. I was almost like a captain. Every team I played on in the minor leagues, and guys looked up to you as well, because the way you carry yourself and the way you handle situations. And, I was pretty good at the field too, so that made it easier.
Yeah, it definitely always makes it easier, man. So you kind of spoke on the language barrier. Obviously, we know you speak English. You said it was an adjustment because of how fast and the slang terms that were used. Papiamento, that's the native language for the island of Curaçao. But you speak about 30 different languages, Bam. Break it down for us. I know you speak English, Papiamento, Spanish. What's a couple of other languages that you speak?
Well, so Dutch is our main language because we're the Dutch colony. Papiamento is only spoken on these islands of Aruba, Bonaire, and Curaçao, and a little bit on the SSS islands. But those islands mainly speak English. And then you grew up here in Dutch system, getting English and Spanish in school since from the 5th grade on.
Wow.
So as a must, and you have to keep taking them until you get out of school. So, and you have to pass them. It's not like they're recreational. You have to get good grades in them to pass the class. So very fortunate. My mother is Dominican. So when I grew up, my mom had only been in Curacao for about 3-4 years. So she barely spoke anything other than Spanish. So my siblings and I had a natural teacher in house in terms of learning Spanish, because that's all she spoke to us.
Yeah.
Spanish to us. Till this day, when I go over there, she speaks Spanish.
Spanish.
So I'm like, Mom, you can speak over mental. You've been here 100 years.
No way. That's crazy.
But anyways, so learning English and Spanish in school was key for a lot of not only me, but all the other guys in sports. And the other one was Japanese. I had a chance to play in Japan in 1994. The Yankees sold my contract to the Chibalote Marines at the end of '93. So I spent 3 years playing, 1 for Chiba and 2 for the Yakult Swallows in Tokyo. Had a blast over there, and then I picked up my 5th language by learning how to speak Japanese pretty much.
Wow. I'm sure it was a little easier because you had already, mastered 4 different languages as it is. But let's talk about the grind you spoke about when you first stepped foot in the States, joined the Yankees organization, going through the spring trainings, A-ball, AA, AAA, sandwiches for lunch, soup for lunch, maybe some fruit, chicken and rice, chicken and pasta for dinner, some cereal for breakfast, a real grind. And we talking about the Yankees. We're talking about a big time franchise, and you really having to grind it out, and you're not getting the best of the best when it comes to food and living situations. But you go through all of that 3.5 years, and then boom, you get that call. Was it during a game? When did you find out that you was going to get that call up to the big leagues?
So back in those days, it was 1989. I was in AAA. We still had roommates everywhere. So my roommate was Balvino Galvis, Dominican pitcher that pitched in the big leagues a little bit. Ended up playing overseas in Japan as well. But he picked up the phone. It was 8 a.m. We were still sleeping. I remember we were playing in Pawtucket, Rhode Island against a AAA team for the Boston Red Sox. And he answered and he says, "Hey, you woke me up." He says, "He's the manager. I want to talk to you." And it was Rick Down at the time, who passed away a couple of years ago. But Rick says, "Hey, you're going to the big leagues. The plane is at 11. Don't miss it. Pack up your stuff in your room. Go to the ballpark, pack up your stuff there, and then head to the airport and get on that flight and get on there and make sure I don't ever see you again down here."
Just like that. Just like that.
What's going on? So now I'm panicking because I only have 3 hours to make the flight. Back in those days, there were no Ubers. There were no cell phones. I didn't have a cell phone. So he called me on the phone from the room. Now I'm calling my parents Colette to tell them I'm going to the big leagues. All the way here in Curacao, because I didn't have the means to pay for the international phone calls. So it was so different back then. Anyways, got the call out of the way. I said goodbye to my roommate. I couldn't say goodbye to the rest of the teammates because everybody was sleeping still.
Yeah.
I go to the ballpark. There is nobody at the ballpark. Nobody can open to let me in because it's 8:30 in the morning, whatever you. So here we are waiting for somebody to come from home to come open the clubhouse so we can get my stuff. So obviously I'm running late now to get on the flight. I get to the Providence airport and, back in those days, Eastern Airline, this airline, American Airline. So there was chaos, there was no lines. Everybody's pushing their way to the front. So I found somebody that kind of, got eye contact with me, and I went to that person and said, "Hey, listen, I got called up to the big leagues. My flight is in like 45 minutes. If I stand behind these people, I would never get in this flight." He goes, "Okay, come over here. this towner, I'll help you out. He got me in the plane. So Providence to New York City is like a baller jumper.
Yeah.
So I had no clue what kind of airplane I was going to get into. But I walk out there, and then you get in the bus. As soon as you get in the bus, you're not going to go on a big plane.
Yeah.
It's gonna drive you out to a little plane. So I got out there, and there was, I guess it was, I don't know, 14 people on this little plane. So it drove us straight down the Hudson River, over Manhattan, and landed in Newark. And obviously, when I got there, my bags had no chance to make it.
It was too fast.
Yeah. So I get there, my bags are not there. I say, we'll take care of the bags. And then you walk out of the baggage claim, and you see your name in one of those starboards, and with a driver. I'm like,
a driver
now. This never happened before. It's like, who's this guy with my name on the board? Anyways, the Yankees back in those days made sure you had the limo all day long when you got called up.
What?
They send a limo to pick you up at the airport. I get in the car, I'm like, can I touch everything in here? Can I have a drink? He says, yeah, do everything you want. Everything in here is yours. The water, the chips, the sandwiches, do whatever you want. He says, where do you want to go? I'll take you anywhere you want to go. I says, well, how about we go to the hotel first, check in. So he took me to the hotel. It was back in those days, the Yankees used to put everybody up in New Jersey.
Okay.
On this side of the Hudson River, because nobody went down to Manhattan because it was too crowded.
Yeah.
So we stayed in New Jersey at a hotel, and then I said, pick me up like at 2, take me to the ballpark. He picked me up, took me to the ballpark. I get into the ballpark and I met everybody. Luckily, I was in big league camp for 2 years already at that time. 88 and 89, it was a big league camp. So I knew the players. So I remember Ricky Henderson, Dave Winfield, Charlie Hudson, all these brothers, man, they took care of us as young players. Me, Bernie Williams, Gerald Williams, when we came up. Took us under their wings, Roberto Kelly, took us out to dinners, and just taught us the right way in spring training when they had a chance to talk to us. And then all of a sudden here I was walking in the clubhouse to go play with them.
Yeah.
Wow, this is unbelievable. So that's how that day went. And it was against Boston, so we were playing the Red Sox in AAA and in the big leagues those same days. Walked my first at bat against Mike Boddicker, and then he punched me out, and then I got a base hit up the middle of my third at bat, and then Lee Smith punched me out the last at bat. So it was 1-4.
Hey, you got it done early. You got that base hit your first game. That first game. So that's what did your pops? Where was your pops when you got the call, man? Was he back in Florida? Was he back on the island? Where was he?
No, so I was moving. Remember when I said I was moved up from AA to AAA just 3 weeks prior to that because of injuries and stuff. And then they were back here in Curaçao, and obviously they couldn't make it that night for that game. I believe those days there was only like one flight a day to Miami from Curaçao, so they had to wait till the next day or maybe even the next day after that to fly up to New York to watch me play. But they sure came up. The radio station came up from Curaçao. They broadcasted the games live from New York Yankee Stadium down to Curaçao. It was pretty much chaos down here. Everybody was like so happy, and it was like considered a national day that day.
The first to do it. How did you feel about it all, man? I mean, I know once you're in the zone and playing ball, you have that tunnel vision. You just said you had those flaps on like a horse, that tunnel vision. But when did you realize what you had accomplished at the time, and how did that all make you feel?
Yeah, you said something that was very true earlier. You feel like you're carrying the country in your shoulders, and for me, it was carrying the whole Commonwealth, the Dutch Commonwealth. It was like multiple islands and countries. So it definitely felt weird when I got there, but when it hits, it's like the next day remember those days there was no internet, there was no cell phones. It was very hard to get in touch with people. And those were the days of telegrams still. You know what a telegram is?
Yeah, I'm familiar with telegrams.
So the next day I had like 70 telegrams from the government, from the prime minister, from my parents, from different people, friends. And telegrams were very expensive. So you basically got 2-3 words typed out because they charge you for each letter you type.
Yeah.
I think it was $20 or something crazy for each letter you type. You got charged. So the lines were like, "Good luck, unbelievable, you're the man," like that. So I got through them really fast.
Yeah, that was easy. Text messages now, you had to read through all those telegrams, man. That's crazy. But, to do that, to get it done early, like you said, getting that base hit, having that time to where you can reflect on the hard work, and you're starting to see it pay off for a big time organization. Having Dave Winfield, the Ricky Hendersons, the Charlie Hudsons, did that make your adjustment to the big leagues a lot easier? Having those
no
guys
question.
around.
I think it's a good thing they do with young players when they're on the track to become major league players, and you find out that you're a prospect and whatnot. To bring them to big league camp, to let them get used to being around the big time players, to let them get used to being just the whole atmosphere of being in the big leagues. It's so different.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you have a single room. You're not going around in buses. You on charter flights. Everything kicks up. To where it's more luxurious. Everything is first class, especially playing for the Yankees in the big leagues. So when you have these guys trying to teach you and prepare you from when you get the call, and not to be in awe, like I said. When you get there, you can't be in awe. You got to perform. I mean, you're getting called up to help out with whatever situation. That's why they call you up anyways. So those things have to be like treated like as normal, like walking into a big league clubhouse, not saying, "Oh my God, there's TVs everywhere." You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So because in AAA or minor league clubhouses, some of these clubhouses didn't have TVs. That's how bad it was back in the day. But those guys ease the pain for sure, no doubt about it. And other than that, some of them kept in touch with you as you were coming through the minor leagues. They would give you a call. They will send you a message, not through cell phone or nothing like that, but on the hotel phone. They would call and say, "What's up?" But those were unforgettable times, man. Coming up through prestigious Yankee system, Hall of Fame type players. Play with Don Mattingly for all those 5 years. Steve Sachs, Roberto Kelly, Dave Winfield. Jesse Barfield, big time players.
Yeah,
these guys, you came up and they treat you right. And I remember Danny Tartabull took me out for my birthday up in Toronto when I turned 24. Treat me to a lavish style dinner with, bottle of wine and all that. I've never been to something like that. So I was like, this is the big leagues, man. You made it.
Yeah, you're gonna get the right treatment, man, and that's cool. And before we move on to, you played in Japan, played in Korea, and then you came back. Well, played in Japan, then came back and got some more big league time with a couple teams. But talk about some of those rules, because everybody know the Yankees to be really, really, when you talk about professionalism, especially in baseball, the New York Yankees, that's the standard. Were the minor league rules different from the big league rules, or was it the same rules and things you had to follow, no matter if it was a minor league or a major league?
Yeah, so all the rules were the same except facial hair. In the big leagues, you could have a mustache. In the minor leagues, you were not allowed. In the minor leagues, it was no facial hair at all. In the minor leagues, you had to blouse your pants and show 8 inches of blue on the stirrup, because back then we didn't use the socks. We had to use the sandies and the stirrups. So everybody would blouse, and nobody had a problem with it. That was the rules. Everybody had their uniform nicely. Warren. When you got to the big leagues, you can put your pants all the way down and you can grow a mouse mustache. I could never do it because I never grow hair. I just
clean.
without, yeah.
Just clean.
But the rules were tight, and if you didn't follow them, you would hear from the man himself. I remember in 92, perhaps, we were breaking camp, big league camp down in Fort Lauderdale. And all of a sudden we got a message on the board says, hey, George wants to talk to everybody in such and such room. And everybody was kind of like, well, what does he want to talk about? And, the meeting was moved off base, kind of way behind somewhere where the media didn't get a hold of what was happening. So everybody went to this area where the media was not allowed. And he comes in and it took like just a few minutes. It was like, because I remember the year before, we had an incident where there was like a pillow fight on the flight, where there was some damage to the airplane. It was like $10,000 worth of damage. The guys were throwing pillows at each other, and he didn't like that. And also, the dress code was slapped a little bit. Certain places, guys were wearing jeans, and boots, cowboy hats, things like that. So he didn't want that. So he walks in, he says, listen, I'll pay all of you guys, and not exactly in those words, enough money. So go buy yourself some slacks, some dress shoes, some dress pants, no more jeans, no more boots, no more buckles, no more cowboy hats. None of that stuff is allowed anymore. And please, don't trash the planes. And he walked out.
Wow.
And then he said one more thing. He says, when you guys come to town, everybody should know the New York Yankees just got to town because the way you guys are dressed. And I never forget that. And we, from that time on, we're not allowed to wear sneakers, jeans, not like that on the planes. We have to wear full-blown suits and ties and dress shoes and everything like that. So that was different from the Yankees, and those rules were followed. Otherwise, you got reprimanded.
Yeah, that's crazy. You said you got it from the man himself, which was the owner, George Steinbrenner, RIP. Wasn't the manager addressing you, it was the team owner. So you knew it was serious and you knew that he meant business at the time. But and before we move on to Japan, man, because the Yankees sold your contract, as you mentioned earlier, did you have a suit coming in, or did one of the older guys, veteran guys, take you out? Were they doing that back then, taking guys out and getting them clothes and stuff like that? And who took you out to do all of that?
Yeah, so like in New York, there was like different stores that brought you in for fitting, and
oh wow,
they hook you up with suits. It didn't have to be the players.
Must be nice.
And then there was a couple of companies just like now that came around spring training. They were selling their stuff. I hooked up with one of them for custom-made suits and shirts and everything like that. So, but I'm sure certain players got taken up by other players. I never experienced that, but I just experienced big-time stores in New York calling in and handing out some stuff. So.
That's all you need. As a Yankee, you got that type of treatment. That's crazy, man. And
that's right.
You spent about 5 years in the big leagues with the Yankees. Did a whole lot. Got to play a bit. First base, third base, and outfield. Was it bittersweet when you found out your contract was sold to Chiba Lotte in Japan?
So for me, it was sweeter than bitter because I was gonna get a chance to play. I was in the big leagues very fast and very young, but in the next 5 years, I struggled to stay up in the big leagues and become an everyday player and a star player like I was in the minor leagues. I hit the minor league level every year as an all-star. Leading the league in home runs, RBIs, things like that. Statistically, I had big numbers that didn't match up in the big leagues because of whatever reason. I wasn't ready. I wasn't good enough probably, and I didn't play all the time. So all that mixture was hard for me to get the rhythm. I wish I knew then what I know now. I would have been a great part-time player, because there was no pressure on me because I was a top prospect. They called me blue chipper. They said I was going to hit 30, 40 home runs every year and things like that. So you felt that pressure a little bit, and it never panned out. And for me, it was more like, sweet. I'm going somewhere and I'm going to get to play. I'm not going to have this pressure of the media, of the fans, of the big city, of myself, of my country. Everybody waiting for me to do something. There was no other player in the big leagues for my country playing all those 5 years. So it was nice to be going somewhere where I was going to play. I was asked numerous times if I'd like to be traded. There was a bunch of trades out there that they could have made to get some good pieces back in return, but they never did them. So I never got a chance to go somewhere else to let my skills shine. Instead of staying in this bubble in New York. But hey, it was the greatest organization in the world at that time in any sport. I can say I played in it for 8 years, including 5 up and down in the big leagues. And then now I'm taking my skills to another country, big city, Tokyo. Played there 1 year for the Chiba Lotte Marines, just outside of Tokyo, and then got transferred to the Yakult Swallows, where we won a championship my first year in Tokyo with the Swallows in '95, and then I went back for a third year in '96, and then '97 I came back to the U.S. play with the Expos. So. And '98 with the Diamondbacks. But those 3 years were great. You got to make money that you never would have made in the States.
Yes.
Because you're playing every day, you're making bonuses and things like that. And so in that aspect, it was really good for me and my family. And also being in a different culture, learning a different language, the food, the meal, the people. Nothing wrong with that place. I've been 7 other times since.
Yeah, Japan is cool. It's clean. It's a lot going on. It's just expensive to live. And I know in AAA, when you were the hitting coach in AAA, when I was with the Pirates, man, used to show us the old video of you in Japan hitting the home runs and doing so. I don't know what you used to do, what your celebration was.
Chainsaw.
Yeah, that. And then having a big stuffed animal to throw into the stands, So
right.
It looked like you was able to have fun and be yourself when you got away and was able to play those 3 years in Japan. And they gave you an opportunity, not only, like you said, to learn a different language and a different culture, but to have success and to make some good money to support your family, on an island and to be able to do some things that you wanted to do. And it also gave you an opportunity to come back to the States and get another crack at the big leagues for another 3 years or so. Having that time, how did you enjoy that time coming back the second time around, playing in the big leagues for a couple of different organizations?
Well, yeah, I enjoyed it. I was part of a branding team. The second year, first of all, I got a chance to go play in Canada. Started here in AAA, where I played in Ottawa. Nice to play in Canada. It was just a fresh, a breath of fresh air. Going to where people were enjoying the game all the time, no matter if you were winning or losing. I ended up setting a new record in home runs for the Ottawa Lynx, for the franchise, which was nice. That helped me got into the International League Hall of Fame a few years ago. So
wow, I didn't know that.
All those memories were great. And then going up to Montreal, playing for Philippe Alou, who was the manager at the time, the great Dominican player and manager. Playing with Pedro Martinez, watch him strike out 300 hitters in a season that year for the first time he did in his career. Vlad Guerrero was just coming up at that time, become a Hall of Famer. Pedro become a Hall of Famer. Just a great atmosphere with players like David Segui, Mark Lansing, Marcus Atlantic, Rondell White, those guys were
a lot of guys, yeah.
Big time team. So had fun there, and then I moved on to to the Diamondbacks the following year, where Buck Showalter was the manager. And that was the 6th different time I would play for him, because I played for him in A-ball, rookie ball, AA, big leagues a couple of times with the Yankees, and then that was the 3rd time in the big leagues I played for him. So just a wonderful experience, wonderful career. I wouldn't do anything different.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. If I was you, I wouldn't do anything different. I mean, thinking about how you came up and then being around legends, you just named off a whole bunch of legends when it came to managers, ball players, your teammates, and things of that nature. And I'm sure having that experience, you were a damn good ball player yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gotten an opportunity to come to the States and play at the major league level. But I'm sure all of those experiences, traveling to different countries, playing in Japan, you know, you had a stint in Korea as well. I believe that might have been your last year or your second to last year playing professional baseball, because I know you played in Mexico too. But all of those things came together, man. And when you decided to retire, you retired in what, 2000 or 2001?
So when I came back, actually I went to Korea in 2000. I went to Korea after I broke my wrist. I was traded at the deadline from the Diamondbacks to the White Sox, and they had sent me to AAA Calgary. And my second day with the White Sox AAA team, I broke my wrist, and I was out for about 6 months. I had 2 surgeries. I was a free agent. Nobody picked me up. I ended up playing independent ball in '99 in Newark. For the Newark Bears in the Atlantic League. That was in New Jersey. And then I went to Korea in 2000. And that didn't pan out. You know, it was a team that was bankrupt. That, you know, they were in last place. They were playing really bad. They put a lot of pressure on the foreign players to get them out of the hole. It didn't happen. And then I left and I came back home and went to Mexico for the last 2.5 years of my career. So that's how it all boiled down. And 2002, I believe, was the last year I played. So after 2000, I played 1 more year in Mexico. And then the following year, 2002, halfway through the season, I went home. I said, hey, I'm going to be 35. I don't see myself going back to the big leagues. I wasn't having fun anymore. And I told myself always, when you stop having fun, just walk away with something else and don't just play for the paycheck. You know, at that time, I felt like I was starting to play for the paycheck. And that's when I said, no, this is enough. You know, I've played 30, you know, I'm 35, I played 17 years. I was, you know, not feeling it. I didn't see a path back to the big leagues, because now it's been 4 years since I played in the big leagues. Yeah. So I went home, had a birthday. I was living in Coral Springs, Florida at that time. Spent my birthday at home. And then I flew down to the island and I opened up a baseball academy 2 months later that saw 150 kids come up right away. I'm like, whoa, wow. This is like minor spring training again. You know? But, you know, we're still at it. We're still educating kids down here, putting them in high schools and colleges in the States, and doing seminars and clinics year after year after year for the local community here.
That's huge, man. You know, being a pioneer in every way possible. When you're talking about being that first guy from the island of Curaçao, just really from the Dutch Commonwealth to play in the major leagues. And then from there, you're starting to give back as soon as you're done playing the game with the academy, which is still going strong today. I know you guys are looking at doing an indoor facility, a whole complex. I know that's in the works for you, and I hope everything pans out and goes well. But you did that. Did you stay away? 2002, you retired, opened the academy. When did you get into coaching?
So that same year, at the end of the year, so I opened up on September 1st and was bombarded with all these kids right away. And so I knew in December that this was going to be the path. I wasn't going to go back to playing. Because it was going so good with Academy. So I announced my retirement from playing in December, and then, you know, I started getting a bunch of calls the same people that wouldn't give me a playing job anymore.
They want you to coach.
They say, all right, so this is what you should be doing now. So they first guy that called was True Halabi. True Halabi is a guy from Curaçao that lives in Aruba that signed all the Aruban greats, Stephanie Paulson, Eugene Kinsale, Calvin Maduro, all these guys from Aruba, and also some of our guys, Shiro Martiz and Jonathan Scope, all the guys for the Orioles, you could say. But he called and says, hey, we have a job for you at the rookie ball level. Why don't you take it and start your coaching career? I said, are you out of your mind? I mean, look at me here. I'm like, how can I leave this behind right now? Because I came to the field where I was like a field coordinator going around like a chicken with its head cut off, trying to keep everything under control, So, and I said, how can I leave this? I can't leave this to go coach rookie ball. No chance. And then he says, okay, think about it. I'll reach back out to see how you feel about it. So a couple of weeks go by and he calls back and says, hey, this spot is not going to be filled until you take it. It was with the Orioles, go to Bluefield, West Virginia. I said, true, I'm not taking that job. I'm like, I have a big responsibility here. I'm not. Who's going to stand in my place about it, He says, I'm going to tell you what. I'll give you a few more days to think about it, but I'm going to come back at you because just think about it. So now it's almost to the end of the year. 3 weeks goes by. He calls and says, hey, the Orioles are not, I talked to the owner today. It's not, he wants you to fill his job. He says, I'll tell you what. A lot of guys like you think that this is going to last forever, your own thing, and blah, blah, blah. And they get out of the game. And then 2-3 years down the road, they want to get back in the game, and then it's too late because, out of sight, out of mind. They don't see you. They don't think you need to work, and they don't. Nobody calls. Okay, I said okay. So I took the job, went into rookie ball, did 2 years of rookie ball at Bluefield, West Virginia, and then I went to the Pirates from there. That's where we met.
Yes.
So 03 and 04 I was in Bluefield, and then 05 through 08 I was in Indianapolis with the Pirates, moving up and down the big leagues, spring training and in September. And then the regime changed in Pittsburgh, and then all of us that came in with Dave Littlefield were let go. And then I ended up with the Giants, Brian Sabian, who was the scouting director when I signed with the Yankees. So I knew him from the time I was 18 and came into baseball.
Yeah.
So I gave him a call. I says, hey, do you have anything open for next year? And he says, well, we got 2 things open, AA hitting coach or AAA hitting coach. You can take whatever you want. I don't need a resume like that. I know you.
Wow.
So it's so different nowadays that there is a process going on to hire people. They have to interview 15, 20 people for one spot. And then just 10 years ago, you were hired by a phone call, like, can you throw BP? We just need to know that coaches can throw BP. I said, yeah, I can throw all day long if you want. And I was hired by the Giants like within 3 days after the Pirates deal was over. Yeah. Went to AAA with them for a year in Fresno, and then became the big league hitting coach November 2nd, 2009, and spent 10 years there and won 3 championships.
Yeah, that's big, man. I mean, to hit the ground running. You didn't want to do it at first, and the one guy that scouted, in your area, boom, he convinced you to get in there. And just like your playing career, you was on a fast track to the big leagues. Obviously, it took a few more years as a coach, but things kind of went fast, and you became a big league coach. And I mean, you were the AAA hitting coach when I was there with the Pirates, so I can hang my hat on my batting average with you in the big leagues. I got like 4 hits. I'm like 4 for 19. So I'm hitting over 200, you know what I mean? So you're one of those guys that helped that out. But on the flip side of it, man, how much was it a big adjustment going from a player? Because you were still in that player's mode when you took that job at rookie ball. And even when you got up to the big leagues, you were only 5 years out from playing. How much of an adjustment was it from you being a player to now you having to coach young prospects?
It was different for me because, like I said a little earlier, I wasn't going to play for the paycheck, and I said once I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I put an end to it. That's why I announced my retirement. Otherwise, I would have never announced my retirement. I said, I'm done. I'm good with it. Things started to hurt here and there, the back, the knee, this and that. So I said I had enough. I had a wonderful career playing 17 years all over the world. And it's time to take it to the next level. And it's time to get to the big leagues as a coach.
Yeah.
And if you were thinking, still playing back then, like I knew coaches that I started working with at that time, they were still thinking about going to play winter ball and this and that. I'm like, what? What are you doing? I'm like, I don't want no part of playing anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I want to coach my way back up to the big leagues. And obviously I had an opportunity to do that. And, but to answer your question, no, I was not hard at all. I was, as a coach is a little different than, not a little, a lot different than as a player. As a player, you come in, all you worry about is yourself.
Yeah.
When do you wake up? When do you go work out? When do you eat? When do you, study? When do you do this? When do you do that? As a coach, now, if you're a hitting coach, you worry about 13, 14 guys. And then for me, I had to come up with a different plan for each one of them every day because of what we were facing, what challenges they were going through. How could I get them through under the rod? How could I keep this guy hot for an extended period of time? So it was all like this intertwined, and I enjoyed that a lot. I was like, not play anyway. So I think about me. So why don't try to make these guys better and have these guys get to the big leagues? At that time, in AAA, the Pirates had a lot of good players.
Yeah, we loaded.
The Jose Bautistas, the McCutcheons, the McLeods, the Duffys,
Rajay Davis, Brad Eldred, a lot of guys.
You can go on and on. The Domans, the Paulinos,
Nigel Morgan.
I'm getting goosebumps. They sent me out to winter ball in Hawaii just to go be with Niger, just to teach him, to slow down, not be so wild, not be this and that. And I got out there, I'm like, how am I going to slow this fool down? I can't. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out there and run with you and see what you're doing so I can understand at least how you're doing it and where your brain is at and how you function the next day, So I did it a couple of times. I'm like, bro, you got to slow down. I can't hang with you, bro. I can't hang with you if that's doing it. But, he turned out to be the MVP of the league or something and made it to the big leagues. Nobody gave Niger a shot to get in the big leagues before that. But he proved everybody wrong, and he had a nice little career.
Yeah, that's huge, man. You coached a lot. You played with some top-notch ball players. You coached some top-notch ball players. You was with a Hall of Fame manager through your big league careers and coach with San Fran and Bruce Bochy. 3 championships, man. You talk about being a hitting coach and making it to the big leagues as a hitting coach, and then you became a bench coach with San Fran for a few years. Most notably with the New York Mets last year. You're currently a free agent. Not sure where you are with that as far as if you're wanting to get back in the game. You deserve a manager's job yourself. Dave Clark, I look to see you guys manage a big league team. You 2 guys, I think, can do a hell of a job. But before we hop into some of that stuff and wrap this thing up, how did it feel, man? You jump into an organization like San Fran, and you guys just get on a roll. You're winning year after year. World Series every other year, you're winning. How was that run, man? Speak on that run for a second.
Well, amazing. It's like now that you look back, it ended, and every good thing comes to an end. But at the time you're going through it, even 16 still, we still got back to the playoffs and lost to the Cubs, who became the World Championships that year. And we should have never lost that series, but the history is written already. But I think the main thing was back then that we got pitching, and our pitching was solid. Our defense was solid. I remember one year we only made 73 errors. I think it was the first year, 2010. We didn't even make 80 errors all year. We hit some home runs, more than we did hit the year before. But the pitching was what kept us there, and our defense. We had solid defense and great pitching with Lincecum and Matt Cain and Bumgarner and Barry Zito and guys like that. And then you had Bustaposi behind the plate. That first year he came up as a rookie. We traded Benji Molina away when he came up. And then you had the veterans. You had the Abriaf at first, Randy Sanchez second. We had Uribe in the infield, and Renneria, who became the MVP of the World Series that year. And Pablo Sandoval at third, who was just in his second, third year. And then you had Aaron Rowan in the outfield. You had Cody Ross, who became the LCS MVP. Hit two home runs off dot the first game in Philly. So we had great all-around veteran leadership in our team. And the guys supported each other, and we didn't make mistakes. We didn't have blowout offense, but we did enough to back up the great pitching we had. We scored 3-4 runs every game, and they gave up less than that every game almost. That's how we won the championship that year. And if we move forward, the next year we kind of had a down year. We still ended up in second place behind Arizona, who won it that year in 11. And then we came back to the dance in 12, won the division, went all the way through. We had to play 6 elimination games that year. Wow. We had our backs behind against the wall against the Reds in the divisional series 0-2, and then went into Cincinnati and swept them there. And then went to St. Louis. We were down 3-1 and won 3 in a row. So those are the 6 elimination games we won. And then we swept the Tigers in the World Series. Pablo Sandoval becoming the MVP and hitting 2 home runs off of Verlander the first game. So, great memories. 2014 was a incredible year because it was like, it's so different than nowadays. It was making contact, put the ball in play, see how you can get a base, and guys weren't trying to hit home runs. In fact, I think till this day is the 2 teams that had the least amount of home runs during the season. I think we had 200 home runs between the 2 teams in the World Series, us and the Royals. Two things. One, we played in 2 of the biggest ballparks in America. One National League, one American League. 2, we didn't have much power. Our guys weren't power hitters, both teams. And 3, we had good hitters. We had guys that put the ball in play and hit for average. So I remember that year we were the offense that with a better average against 95 plus fastball. So we hit the fastball good and hits. So that's a credit to you. That's a credit to you. You hit the fastball. Right. So, but also we were, we had pride in putting the ball in play and not striking out. It seems like strikeouts are more of a common thing nowadays, and it's more accepted. And and they like to see the home run more. But it was great games because you had contact, you had defensive plays. I mean, I still remember seeing Joe Panic diving up the middle, catching the ball and flipping it with his glove to Crawford to turn it on play to end up a trap. And then, we win in that game later on. So the defense was on point. And obviously, the pitching was unbelievable. Bumgarner pitching 5 innings in relief, or 4 innings in relief after pitching a shutout 2 days earlier. Wow. So that, it's hard to explain it, but you have to be there. You have to be there. You have to be in the moment to really experience it. I'm really appreciative to have gone through that period, those 5 years. You can call it 6 because 16 we went to the playoffs, and experienced the 3 championships, the parades. We were rock stars, man. These people that never won a championship in San Francisco. We had all the greats that never won one come out. The Willie Mays, the Barry Bonds. All these guys, man. They were right there with us in the parade and unforgettable. I mean, now that I'm here, semi-retired, I'm gonna pull up those dusted DVDs and throw them in and watch some champagne flying all over the place, man.
Yeah, you got some memories, man. And 12, was it 2010 or 2012? The Riot, Ryan Terrio, was he on that? What team was he on? 12 or
Terrio was on 12.
Yeah, one of my college teammates right there.
He scored the winning run in the championship game.
Yeah,
in Detroit. Yeah.
That's my guy, man. Well, damn, Bam Bam. It's a lot of history, man. A lot of things you have accomplished in your 36 plus years of baseball. You're still doing a lot for your island in Curaçao and for the Dutch Commonwealth. I won't say just Curaçao. You're doing a lot for the Dutch Commonwealth when it comes to the game of baseball and bringing up such these young stars and these future big leaguers. You named off a whole bunch of guys, man, that are not only just big leaguers, but they're damn good baseball players. And that's a credit, like I said, you setting the stage and paving the way for those guys with your opportunity. I know you said semi-retired. Again, like I said, yourself, Dave, Clark, I'd love to see you guys manage a big league team. Hopefully you get that day to do so. But in the meantime, I know you're going to continue to point to your community and give back. Before I let you go, man, I got about 5 questions. If you got, a couple more minutes to answer, just quick answers, just throw them out there. And we'll wrap it up from there. So if you're good with about 5 more questions, I'm talking about quick, and then we'll shut it down. So my first question for you, man, in the big leagues, did you enjoy playing at home or on the road?
Road.
Got to check out those new places, right? New York was kind of crazy, so I'm sure it was easy for you to kind of, man, let's get away from the hustle and bustle of New York City. Road trips were the best. Second question, on the island, man, in the States is different. So, and I'm talking about Little League Bam Bam. What was your favorite concession stand food? What was your favorite ballpark food coming up?
Peanuts.
Peanuts?
Yeah.
Ooh,
and here we have both varieties. You have the one they boil.
Yes.
And then the one they cook.
Got you.
So I like the one they boil.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people here, they like the hot dogs or the nachos. So peanuts is brand new. I never got that answer yet. So that's crazy, man. So from there, and we're gonna talk about the work. What was, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but what was the most, I guess, which World Series did you appreciate the most out of the 3 you won as a coach?
The first one, because I have never been to one. And that was the first one, a bunch of us that won. I think when we won, it was only 4 members of the Giants that had won another one prior to that. So First one by far.
Got you. And then 4th question, I got 2 more for you. Growing up on the island, man, your favorite athlete of all time, any sport, favorite athlete of all time?
I was a Dodger fan at the time, so Dusty was my guy.
Wow.
He knows it too now. So ever since I met him in 2003, actually I was with the Pirates. We went to Wrigley. He was the manager.
Yeah.
And I walked out there with my phone. I was like, I got to take a picture with this guy, So I walked up to him. I give a little story, and I go, hey, Dusty, can I take a picture with you? Like, I said, I'm Bam Meulens. Hey, come here, man. I know who you are. I was 10 years with Brian Sabians in San Francisco, and every time we talked about a big time power hitter, your name came up, fool. So come here, let's take this picture. But Dusty and I have been friends since then, and it's been great.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man. Just shout out to Dusty Baker, man. I got one more question for you, man. now that you're, even though you were coaching for these years and this is your first year being off, throughout that time you've been in touch in Curaçao, we're advancing the game and giving youngsters opportunity. What has been the biggest piece of advice that you've given to the young players coming up with that Major League Baseball dream?
Have fun, and don't take anything for granted. When you take stuff for granted, you think you have power, or you think it's so hard, that's when it bites you in the butt. So try to have as much fun as you can, and try not to take anything for granted, because that's the wrong thing to do. Just go for it, work hard, be disciplined. Discipline is a word that I will never stop using. When you're disciplined, that will take you to the next level, because your discipline allows you to continue to work efficiently and with your focus on the price. The focus on the price. If the price is reaching where you want to go, and only with discipline you can achieve that. So having fun, staying true to yourself, and having that discipline, man, will get you to the next level. Even if you don't become a major league player, you'll become a great person in your community. That's good enough for me.
Definitely, man. Well, that's a lot of game, a lot of experience from you, from a playing side, a coaching side, man, to be able to remember certain things, especially the word discipline. On and off the field, no matter where you are, what you're doing, you definitely need discipline if you want to be successful and have a great life. Sir Bam, man, it was a pleasure. It was definitely a pleasure getting you on the podcast, man. We took a trip down memory lane. You shared some things with me. I learned some things about you that I didn't know. Hopefully the folks in Curaçao can check out this podcast and start following and really appreciate your story once they look back at it and see the things that you were able to accomplish and do throughout that 36 plus years of baseball, man. Some people don't last that long in the game. For you to do that it's a credit to you and the way you were raised and the way you came up, man. So I appreciate you once again. And this is the League Talk podcast, and boom, we're out of here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.